What happened in my Hamayu is already too heavy, and I can feel the weight that could be on the shoulders of my sister, the governor of Nakuru. And I think this current disaster, as much as it has caused us a lot of damage, has also helped us to reflect on how, when we get together as a nation, we can resolve some of our most difficult problems. Your Excellency, from the Ministry of Interior perspective, we continue to provide the coordination work of all national government functions at the counties, and we are working very closely with the county governments. And maybe this is a good position for me to really applaud the seamless partnerships that we have between the two levels of government. I am grateful to the international partners, the UN family, and individual countries, friends of Kenya, for the very invaluable input. Humanitarian organizations, the Kenya Red Cross and others, we really appreciate also what we've been able to do. The work being done at the National Disaster Operations Center is commendable. And again, government agencies, different ministries at the national level working together and being able to communicate to the public on disaster preparedness, mitigation, and response. Very grateful to our Met people. They have kept us well informed. And I think the support and the input of everybody is what has made the pain a little more bearable. We have lost 229 people. And I want to request that while each one of us have their space to communicate to communities and sensitize communities on the nature of what we are dealing with, we should be very careful with the figures relating to loss of life, because it's a legal issue. And I would like us to, all of us, check with the National Police Service, because if somebody is dead, then we must be able to account for where that body is. If somebody is missing, that's a different matter. So please let's not announce figures until we check with the National Disaster Operations Center, where the National Police Service is represented. Your Excellency, I'm grateful to the people of Kenya for taking the security alerts positively. The last few days, we have been evacuating residents who are very close in terms of settlements to 178 water dams, water reservoirs, and other water infrastructure that we believe could cause us damage to human life. I am today a proud Kenyan to note that in many of those cases, we have not had to use force. The communities themselves are cooperating with our field officers, and what they're asking for is just support to get settled to the nearest school, to the nearest place, and of course get supported with the essentials of life. We have, as my PS for internal security did say here, we have confronted with a new thing, and that is the urban flooding, especially for Nairobi, where we've lost quite a number of people. And just this afternoon, earlier this afternoon, the President did visit parts of the affected areas. We have 40,500 households whom we have had to move. A total of 181,000 people in 40,500 households. Again, unlike in the past, most of those households have moved voluntarily. And we have not, in fact, they are not even keen to go back, even if most of their structures were carried by water. Even the ones where the structures remain are not keen to go back. And this afternoon, the president has already announced some of the measures we want to take to make sure that that category also of urban displaced is taken well care of in terms of supplies and some kind of sustainable resettlement arrangements, which the president has already announced. So I'm very grateful to what we are having. It will actually help us to sustain the problem of urban flooding going forward, because much of that corridor in the next 5-6 days, all the 3 Nairobi rivers and their tributaries will be completely not only evacuated, but the riparian corridor, which is 30 meters, will be reclaimed. So we are reclaiming it, we are fencing it off, we are planting trees and making it like a recreation place for the public, but will not be allowing any more settlements. And we will deal with what to do with those who have been displaced from that space. And once more, those affected are cooperating. I also want to say that the security agencies, law enforcement, and multi-agency disaster response teams have been instructed to act humanely and to respect fundamental rights and freedoms as they deal with populations whom they are assisting. And we don't have much complaints from members of the public. And again, I want to thank our security agencies, law enforcement officials, and disaster response teams for handling the response while respecting the fundamental rights and freedoms of our people and also their entitlement to dignity. Finally, as some of those who spoke here said, some of the partners and friends and representatives of other groups that spoke here, and going particularly with what the Met people are telling us, we may still have to deal with more complications for a while. So I think we need to upscale our preparedness. For us, we, at the Ministry of Interior, we have made available 3 aircrafts, that is 2 caravans and 1 Mi-17, which is a personnel carrier, which we believe will be essential in dropping food to the affected families. The only challenge is that these carriers don't carry too much tonnage, but it's better. So for the most needed cases, we shall be able to support from the Ministry of Interior. We are talking to our brothers in the Defense Department also to support us with their equipment and air assets. But we have those 2 caravans and 1 Mi-17, plus we have hired 3 civilian helicopters. So we have 6 aircrafts, which we want to make available for the most needed cases. For the most needed cases. Finally, Your Excellency, last night we had, as you're aware, the last 2 days, we were anticipating the cyclone to hit the Kenyan coast and the Tanzanian coast, and it did hit the Tanzanian coast, perhaps in a more depressed, thankfully manner, because I saw some people trying to say, oh, we thought it would be worse. And I am wondering why we should pray that danger is actualized. Again, I am very happy as the Interior Minister for seeing the cooperation of our people, especially along the beaches, the fisher folk, the people who engage in swimming, leisure, and also sea transport in the territorial waters of Kenya. And I want to thank the county governments of Lamu, Kilifi, Kwale, Mombasa, because they helped us to sensitize communities, and by and large our people stayed out during the most critical moment. I think now the issue is technically, according to the experts, not likely to present any further risks. And in fact, Your Excellency, our friends in Tanzania, we have last night rescued 21 of their fisher folk who did not take the warning seriously. I think some fishermen from Pemba, 2 civilian boats were drifted unintentionally by the cyclone from Pemba, and 1 boat ended up in Kipini unintentionally. And the other one was taken to Ngomeni in Kwale unintentionally. Luckily, and because the tide was quite strong, because they didn't take the warning seriously, the cyclone found them doing their fishing. There's a reason why I'm giving this last night incident, Your Excellency, because the people, a total of 23 sailors, were thrown out of the vessels in the process. But our Coast Guard, the Kenya Coast Guard Service and the Kenya Maritime Authority have been able to rescue all of them except 2 who succumbed because they were able to float and look for help. And therefore, I'm very grateful to what the Kenyan agencies are doing for the country and even to support our neighbors. So I'm very grateful. The culture of taking security alerts, weather alerts, public safety alerts seriously is very important. We are just left with just within the estates and the villages where people are still crossing rivers when they should not be doing so. And again, that is sensitization that we continue doing so that we treat this thing much better. Otherwise, we hope that we will not have much loss of life. We hope we will not have much damage to property. And the matter that is happening in Kijabe area, I think we are seized of that matter, and it's quite delicate, but we want to avoid a situation where we can have a repeat.